Hi, and welcome to my channel. Today I'll be doing the I should have read that book tag. I have a lot of books on my TBR in my bookcases that I have not yet read. This is partly because there are just so many books that I want to read, and also partly because I don't read that much. I love reading, but lately I just don't really do it. Or if I do it because I have to read a book for school, and then I can't read a book that I actually enjoy. So I will take you through the questions and tell you which books I should have already read. This tag was originally created by the person who runs Book Nest, and I will link their blog posts down below. If this comes across as rehearsed or anything, that is because I have already filmed this video just a couple of minutes ago. And apparently my face was not actually in the video. It cut off about here, so you could not see my face while I talk to you. This is because my filming setup is very inadequate. I will put a picture up for you somewhere on the screen so you can see it yourself. It should definitely be improved, and hopefully over time it will be. Now, for the tag, the first question is a book a friend has been recommending to you for forever. The book I've picked for this question is The Jewel by Amy Ewing. This is a book a friend of mine has been recommending to me for ages. She really loved the book. I'm not completely certain what it's about, but the things that I have heard do make it sound like something I'd be interested in. And she lent it to me over the summer holidays. It is now March, so it's been in my possession for like 8 months now, and I should definitely actually read this, even if only so I can get it back to her. The next question is a book that has been on your TBR for forever. Now, there are a lot of books in my bookcase that I could have picked for this question, but the book I ended up going with is... So my phone just fell, and I really hope it's been repositioned in a way that won't make it fall, and also that still has me on screen. Anyway, the book I chose for this book has been on my TBR for way too long question is Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe by Benjamin Alire Sáenz. I am definitely mispronouncing that name, I'm sorry. But this has been a book that I've wanted to read basically since it came out, and I actually got on my birthday about 2 years ago from a friend. So I definitely should have already read this because it's a book I'm super interested in, and I've owned it for over 2 years now. So yes, definitely a book I should have already read. The next question is a book in a series you've started but have not yet finished. Again, quite a few. For this question, I've decided to go with The Dream Thieves by Maggie Stiefvater. This is the sequel to The Raven Boys, which I'm sure most of you already know because it was very, very popular a couple of years ago. I read The Raven Boys about 2 or 3 years ago, I think, and loved it. Loved it so very much. I immediately wanted to read the second book. I immediately ordered the second book. I have not yet read the second book. So I definitely should have read this, and I definitely wanted to read this. So, yes. So I'm very excited about it. I just have to actually read it. And there are a lot of other books I'm also very excited about, so I'm not sure when this book will be read, but it should have been read. The next question is a classic you've always liked the sound of, but have not yet read. There are not as many of those as there are of the other books, of fantasy young adult novels or contemporary young adult novels, because I don't really like classics overall. I've read some of them for school, but I've never read any voluntarily, which I think is part of the problem, because when you read something for school, it has a very strict deadline. You have to have it finished on this date, and you usually have to make an assignment or a report or have a conversation about the book. So you also have to understand it and remember all of it and think about literary themes and motives and just everything that goes on behind the scenes, which is probably why I've never actually enjoyed reading them. because reading for me is a relaxing, enjoyable activity, and having to think about all of those things or remembering all of those things makes it less enjoyable. There are, however, some classics that I have been interested in, and one of those is Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. I first saw a movie adaptation of this when I was very young. It was called Pride and Prejudice, and it was a Bollywood movie, I believe. And I really loved it. It was very funny. I enjoyed it a lot. I watched it a lot as a kid. I have later in life watched the actual Pride and Prejudice adaptation and enjoyed that too. So I'm really interested in reading the actual book. I have tried to read Pride and Prejudice before. I think it was a Dutch version of it, and I was definitely very young, but I read like one sentence and I could not understand it, and I closed the book and just started reading something else. However, I'm a lot older now, so hopefully I will understand and enjoy it this time. It's also just a very beautiful Penguin Classics edition that I really want to read. The next question is a popular book that it seems everyone but you has read. For this, I chose Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. I have heard so much about this book and I am super interested in it. I would love to read this, which is why I own it. I also own the sequel already, so hopefully I'll actually enjoy this book. But I've not yet heard anything negative about it. Everything I've heard about it is super positive. Everyone loves it. So I definitely want to give this book a shot and read it. And it sounds super interesting. So yes, I definitely should have already read this book. I've owned it for over a year now. I think it's closer to 2 years than a year. So I should read this. I should definitely read this. The next question is a book inspired by a TV adaptation or movie adaptation that you enjoyed, but you haven't read the book of yet. So I obviously said the wrong thing about this question. The question is actually a book that inspired a movie or TV adaptation and not a book inspired by a movie or TV adaptation. I did, however, answer it correctly, so here's my answer. There aren't as many of those. I don't watch that much TV or movies, and when I do, I usually either have already read the book or don't know that it's an adaptation, if they are adaptations. So usually when I find out that something is an adaptation, I watched it like a year ago, and then I hear someone talking about it, and I suddenly go, wait, there's a book of that? So yeah, I looked through my bookcase, and there is one book that fits this criteria, and that is Gossip Girl. I really enjoyed the TV series as a child, early teens, and I would love to read the book and see if I can enjoy that. I've owned this book since I was about 12 years old. So it also definitely would have fitted the question of a book that has been on your TBR for way too long, because it has been. But when I bought the series, well, I was about 12 and I couldn't speak English that well yet, but I decided to buy it in English. So I did not enjoy it. However, I'm pretty sure that was the only reason I didn't enjoy it, which means I really want to give it another shot and see if I enjoy the book as much as I did do the TV series. So yes, Gossip Girl. XOXO, Gossip Girl. The next question on the list is a book that you've seen all over Instagram. I don't really use the bookstagram part of Instagram, so none. However, I have seen this book a lot all over Tumblr and over BookTube, so I think that counts. The book I'm talking about is A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. I don't think I have to tell anyone that this is a very popular book that I have seen all over the internet. I, however, have not yet read it, and I am interested in it. I don't really know what it's about. I think it's a retelling of Beauty and the Beast, which I am interested in, because I really like fairy tales. So I am interested in this book, and it looks very pretty, and I should read it. I should have already read it, because I've owned this for 3 years now, I think, for a long time. And it's also been super popular. And I know nowadays there's a lot more openness about people who don't like it as well. So the opinions about it are very divided. So I'm also just really curious where I fall on that. If I like it or if I dislike it. So yes, that is the last book that I should have already read. I just realized that I forgot to mention the author of Gossip Girl. Gossip Girl is by Cicely von Siegesar. I don't know how to pronounce that in English. I probably would be better at pronouncing the German version of pronunciation than the English one, but yes. I hope I didn't forget any other authors, but in any case, all the books will be listed below with authors. So this is my full books that I should have read. This pile could have been a lot bigger. Most of these questions, I really had to pick which book I thought fitted best because there were just a ton of books that fit the criteria for the question. As you may have noticed, a lot of the books I chose today are fantasy novels. That is because I almost exclusively read contemporary novels and books that I have to read for school. I am, however, super interested in reading more fantasy, and I used to love fantasy as a kid. I read a lot of Percy Jackson and Ranger's Apprentice and Harry Potter, and I loved all of those series so much. So I do definitely want to get back into reading more fantasy, especially because I am almost finished with the last book that I have to read for school this year, so I should actually have some time to read the fantasy as well. However, because there are so many fantasy books that I have not yet read but do own, I don't know where to start. So my next video will be you helping me advise which fantasy book I should read. I will show you a couple of books that I have that I'm interested in, and you can advise me on which one to read. I don't know how exactly yet. Maybe there will be a poll, maybe I'll just read the comments. But anyway, watch my next video if you have strong opinions on which fantasy novel I should read. I hope you enjoyed the stack. I really enjoyed doing it. I really enjoyed looking for my bookcase and seeing which books I actually own that I haven't read yet, because there are a lot and sometimes I forget about them. I only remember the books I recently bought. So when I finish a book, I immediately go for a book that I bought a week ago or a month ago because those are so fresh in my mind. But I also really want to read those books that I have had for a while. So I really enjoyed doing this tag. If you'd like to do it, please do. It's a fun tag to do. So I tag everyone who's interested. And that is it for today. Thanks for watching. Bye.